What's going on, everybody? This is John Shade Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty as we officially kick off year number 5 action. So make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have to be brand new as we leap into a brand new season of FCS football. And we will start with the game that is on your screen right now. We have Eastern Kentucky taking on SMU, and this is actually your game of the week here in week number 1. This is at least the most intriguing of the matchups, as SMU was ranked right outside of the top 25 but are under NCAA sanctions. That being said, though, thing about Eastern Kentucky, these two teams actually played each other in the FCS playoffs last year. This Eastern Kentucky squad did beat SMU in the playoffs in year number 4, where Eastern Kentucky won 27-7, and now SMU looks like they are on track to get their revenge as they are going to start one of their drives in Eastern Kentucky territory, but they don't do anything about it. So that being said, Eastern Kentucky, we still got ourselves a tied ball game. Nobody has scored, at least as of yet, but Cameron Coates looks to change that. Gets a nice little out route to go for a significant gain. Call plays later. The Heisman finalist, Rhode, is going to get a carry down the sidelines. Got some space and eventually brought down by the linebacker. But Rhode, you can see why he's considered one of the best players in the entire country. This man can certainly play some football. As now, 3rd and 4, we're going to get the first points on the board as Chris Vaughn is going to be brought down at about the 1-yard line. Almost our very first touchdown here in year number 5, but instead it's going to be 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. How will Eastern Kentucky pull it in as the fullback? Actually, one of the backup offensive linemen, he's reported as an eligible receiver. He's going to move to the opposite side where Rhode, they run a counter to the left and will punch it into the end zone. So Eastern Kentucky will get the very first touchdown here in season number 5. And Rhode is responsible for that, as we'll see those Colonels take a 7-0 lead through the end of the first quarter, as we do see a new quarterback for SMU. This is Brendan McCarty. He does take over at that starting quarterback position, but does end up getting dropped. So still a very low-scoring game, which is kind of what we expected. There was a lot of low-scoring opportunities in the playoff, but SMU will get themselves on the board thanks to a little bit of help from their special teams unit. We got ourselves a tie football game here, all knotted up at 7 apiece. Is now 2nd and 10 from the 29-yard line. McCarty is going to be in the shotgun formation. Looks over the middle of the field, finds his tight end. Tight end's going to take it downfield and gets it to about midfield. The drive will end up stalling after that, but solid drive nonetheless for the SMU Mustangs. As we get into the last couple of minutes of the first half, fullback's actually going to take the carry for Eastern Kentucky. It was on a 3rd and inches. I'm really surprised that they did not try to get it to their big guy, their guy in the backfield that is literally a Heisman candidate. I cannot make this up. The Heisman candidate does not get the football. You hate to see it. And SMU is actually able to get a field goal off of that. So SMU, they take a 10-7 lead, and they also get the ball to start the second half, as well as McCarty's going to try to attack deep to start the second half. And this is a beautiful throw down the sideline, and it is caught for a massive reception. How about this dot by Brian McCarty, throwing that thing up into double coverage. And now 1st and 10 from the 22-yard line. It's a direct snap. Able to make a man miss. Able to run it inside. And it's going to find the end zone too. Touchdown, SMU. And the Mustangs get another score on the board. And they are galloping to their biggest lead of the game so far. 17-7. So number 3 team in the nation already on upset alert to start year number 5. But this Eastern Kentucky defense, it starts to wake up, and boy, did it wake up in a big way. We got a fumble recovery by Newton, and Newton is going to provide a red zone opportunity for the Colonels. Lewis runs it inside. He's going to finish the drive for Eastern Kentucky, and they are right back in this football team, the number 3 team in the entire country, only down by a field goal. So now 17-14 now being your scores. We get another turnover on the field. It is going to be Marshawn Palmer that makes the play. That is the, I believe that's junior. No, yeah, the junior player comes through, makes a play on the ball. You love to see that. But we're going to see something really surprising here. So Cameron Coates throws the interception. Was not dismissed that outright. But then the corner, as he's coming down the football, he drops it. They call it a fumble in the field. So we get a bunch of yards off of that passing play just with a bunch of extra steps. I'm surprised that they did not call that an incompletion. But it will provide another goal line opportunity. And they go with the backup offensive lineman converted to tight end so that he gets some more opportunities on the field. And Fornwin is going to Thornburg his way into the end zone, and Eastern Kentucky now has the lead. They're up 21-17, and they look to extend that lead even further because we got another fumble on the field, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 4th turnover that SMU has had, by the way. They have really fallen apart here in the second half. SMU did not have any turnovers at the half. And this is why Eastern Kentucky has a chance to extend the lead. And Luis Rose is going to punch it into the end zone. Touchdown, Colonels. And EKU is going to get yet another score up on the scoreboard. And the Colonels, with their biggest lead of the day, they're up by 11. As now Brian McCarty is going to try to lead his troops back. But this defense is absolutely intense. That is Marshall Palmer that is able to get to the quarterback this time around. And it's going to be 3rd and long now. An obvious passing down, but facing pressure right away up the middle. And just never stood a chance. The interior of the defensive line winning. And when there's pressure coming up right up the middle, that is so hard as a quarterback to avoid that pressure and extend the play. Just tough luck there for a new starter. This is his first start of his college career. As now 2nd and 4. Lewis, he's going to run it up the middle once again, and just wide open hole, wide butt naked open. Come on, I add. And Eastern Kentucky puts up another touchdown up on the scoreboard. They're going to be up 35-17 as Rose having another fantastic day. And you want to start a Heisman campaign? This is how you do it, as you saw those players of the week. 145 yards and 4 touchdowns already. But SMU has the ball. And one thing that we know about this team, they can score in a hurry. And you see some of that there already, closing it at midfield after a 30-yard reception. And that is going to be a first down for the SMU Mustangs. So check McCarty's stats. 18 for 32, a solid day. But needs some heroics to lead his team back. 3rd and 7, McCarty drops back. He's facing pressure right up the middle, though, and it's going to be dropped. Another sack for Eastern Kentucky. They end up with 6 or 7 sacks in this game. It was truly ridiculous, might I say. And Eastern Kentucky, they will go on the road in their rematch against their opponents in the FCS playoffs. I believe it was the 2nd round of the FCS playoffs, might I add. And Eastern Kentucky wins that as well. This time, not as much of a win, but still a pretty convincing win nonetheless. 35-17 does end up being your final score in this one, as the Colonels will start the year right, going 1-0. But then after that, we do have a series of FCS versus FBS games that actually were not televised according to the NCAA Next Mod. We'll start with our very first one. We got Norfolk State versus Washington. Now, a really interesting feature that I would love to see in the EA college football game, as Norfolk State does actually score in the first touchdown of the game against Washington, nonetheless. That is a Power 5 team. So the interesting thing about this game is if a game is not televised, you don't get the same game presentation as you would if this game was regionally or even nationally televised. So that's something I would love to see in the new game, because In this game, you only hear the PA announcers when the game is not televised. Regional and national televised games, you get the actual commentators, Lee Corso, Kirk Hershey, etc., David Pollock too. But how about Norfolk State? They are making some noise here early. Now, how do they get a Power 5 team to come to Norfolk State? I don't know. You can let me know some of your conspiracy theories down in the comment section if that tickles your pickle. But Washington, they will wake up here a little bit. They will finally get themselves on the scoreboard. And after a successful extra point as well, Washington will cut this back to a one-possession game. So, Washington, they do have the football once again. Norfolk could not score on their following possession. They're going to try to attack downfield, and sometimes it's just better to be lucky than it is to be good, because let me tell you this, Norfolk State, you can't play this any better. I mean, you deflect this ball into the air, but it just falls into the hands of a Washington player. Usually when we see deflections, they typically favor that defensive team and it leads to interceptions. Not there, not this time around. And Washington, they will pounce on the extra opportunity. And this game is all tied up after Norfolk State takes initially a 14-0 lead. It's now all tied up, and that's the same score that we see going into halftime. Now, second half, Washington, they get the football once again, and just a beautiful job on the wheel route, because that quarterback recognized this running back here. When that guy came into coverage, he was even. And you know what they say about real routes, if he's even, he's going to be leaving him. And that's exactly what we saw there. Washington will end up getting a field goal off of that, so they will actually take their very first lead of this football game. And Norfolk State, they're just starting to fall apart. And that's the difference between FCS and FBS teams, right? Some of these FCS teams, they can compete with a few of the FBS teams, maybe for a whole game, but for the most part, it usually only takes a quarter or two before we really see the difference of the depth charts. And Norfolk State's finding that out the hard way. They have not really gotten the ball moving on offense. They do manage to get a field goal though, so at least they get it back to just being a one-possession game. But look what happens on this kickoff return though. This guy, he's going to take it down the sideline. He gets past the kicker, and he is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Washington. And the Huskies get another one on the board. And now they're going to have to rely on that senior quarterback, PJ McNair, but he's going to have pressure up the middle. Could not find somebody to, throw the football to. And this D tackle, he's been all over the place. He's got 5 TFLs already. And now facing 4th and 21. Got to get rid of that football. And unfortunately, PJ McNair, the senior custom quarterback, by the way, he does not get rid of that football. He cannot get it done. And now Washington with a chance to close out the rest of his game, 31-17. But linebacker does come in there and lays down the lumber. But it won't be enough though, as Washington, they will hang on and win this game. 31-17 was your final score. It was a competitive game for Norfolk State. This is going to really sharpen them up, especially when they take on other teams from the FCS. No shame in losing to Washington. No shame whatsoever. You saw what Washington did in real life. They are a quality football program out there in the Pac-12, but unfortunately, just not their day today. PJ McNair didn't really use them. 4 for 11 for 49 yards. No turnovers, so it was really clean though. So we'll continue the FCS versus FBS football action, and now we'll go and see Delaware State. Now Delaware State, they took on another Power 5 team last year in the non-conference. That was the I believe it was Penn State. They played against the Nittany Lions, and now for the second time they will be playing an FBS team to start the season. They will be playing against this Delaware State squad. They are taking on Toledo out in the MAC conference, trying to get some wins in the bank before MACtion starts. There was always a lot of chaos in the MAC. But Delaware State, this is a very low-scoring game, but Delaware State, they're holding on to the lead for now. 3-0 is your score as Victor Reyes throws it on a dime. Touchdown, Delaware State, and the Hornets, they jump out to a 10-0 lead before we go into the halftime locker room, or at least so we think. Toledo still has 2 minutes left to play in the first half. Quarterback's going to throw it deep downfield. One-on-one coverage, and comes down with it. First down for the Toledo Rockets here in the Glass House. And how about this? One-on-one coverage, and receiver just comes up and makes a play. As Toledo continues to march down the field, they get a red zone opportunity. As the tailback is going to take it to the outside, and that is going to go into the end zone. Touchdown, Toledo. And the Rockets cut it to a field goal game before this final play of the first half. Gonna be a Hail Mary. They do get the pass off downfield, and it's gonna be intercepted. Greg Campbell get his first turnover for the Delaware State defense here in season number 5. And Delaware State, they're playing this Toledo team tough. We'll see if they can hang on and get the first FCS versus FBS win in live gameplay. We've seen, bright moments here and there, throughout this series, most notably Arkansas Pine Bluff finding a way to beat Alabama. That was a thing, but the second half starts, and it does not start well for the Delaware State Hornets whatsoever. It's going to be a touchdown for the Rockets as they will fly past the rest of the special teams unit of Delaware State. 14-10 is your score, but we might see the return favored as we see some special teams magic down the sideline. The running back, he's got some blocks downfield to the 10. Touchdown, Delaware State. And the Hornets staying in the Rockets right now. They retake the lead. And ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a ball game, one of the more exciting ball games here in season number 1. And David Jones, the right outside linebacker for the Hornets, he's going to bring the pain as well. Toledo has to punt this football away. So now, 1st and 10 for the 22-yard line. Delaware State gets a field goal, get a couple more stops, and they're going to win this football game. But this quarterback's got some other ideas, though. Throws a dime over the middle of the football field. That's a first down for the Rockets as they roar to the 39-yard line now. 4.5 minutes left to play. They go with a little bit of trickeration. The quarterback gets in the open field, but gets laid out by David Jones. That right outside linebacker again making a play. Eventually it leads to a 4th down. If Toledo doesn't get this game could be over. Could be a last gasp. Can they pick up this first down? Throwing it all. They want it all, and they're gonna get it all. Touchdown, Toledo. And if they get this extra point, which they should, they're gonna take the lead, a 1-point lead. But Delaware State, all they need is a field goal, and they're gonna win the football game. Less than 3 minutes left. Reyes throws to the right-hand side. He comes down, and his receiver makes the catch. A couple more first downs. That should be enough to get into field goal range. 2:34 left to play. They do have a 3rd down conversion that they must pick up. Here we go. 3rd and 10. Dropping back. Looking. He's going to throw over to the right-hand side. And it's going to be just a short gain. Reyes makes the catch, but it's only to the 38. So they need 7 yards on this next throw. Can their line hold up? It does, but that receiver gets laid out. He had the catch too and cannot pull it in. And with 2 minutes left to play, Toledo is going to take over on downs, and they will be able to run out the rest of this clock. A heartbreaking loss for the Delaware State Hornets to start season number 5. This was a painful one. They had a chance to win this football game with a few minutes left, and they let it slip through their fingers. They fumbled the bag, as the kids would say. And the crazy thing is, they won a turnover battle. They did what they're supposed to do. Just Toledo, they just wanted it a little bit more. And now we jump into the last of the FCS versus FBS specific games in this episode. And we got Wofford, one of the worst teams in this series, taking on an SEC school. They're taking on Texas A&M. Now, how did Wofford get Texas A&M to their home stadium? I personally have no idea. I really do not. Maybe a little bit less money attached to the this buy-in game at Texas A&M. That's what they're essentially trying to do. They're trying to buy a win. We all know what's happening here, but this is what we expected early on. Texas A&M, they're going to exert their will first drive of the game, and the Aggies are going to drive all the way downfield and score a touchdown on the Wofford Terriers. And listen, that was what we expected. Unfortunately, Wofford, they're really struggling. And you want to talk about a baptism by fire? Dakota Towson, he's the starting quarterback for the Wofford Terriers. He has to go up against an SEC defense in his very first collegiate start in Division I football, and he's going to feel that pain early. Already has an abdominal strain. He will be back for their next drive, but we'll see if their defense can at least, give him a shot. If you can't even stop Texas A&M, if they're always scoring points, then it could be a very long day. And you can see why right there. That is a tight end outrunning one of your corners and setting up an easy scoring opportunity now. Although Texas A&M, they do stall out and get a field goal. This is still the Jimbo Fisher offense, so not the most innovative of offenses, to put it nicely, but this defense is all over the field for Texas A&M. They are flying to the ball, and we're seeing some of that as Towson is struggling to pick up first downs. They do get one there, and midway through the second quarter, that is Wofford's first down of the game. We'll see if they can pick up a second first down, though, as it looks like Dakota Towson will be throwing this football most likely, as we got a 3rd and 21 now at the 18-yard line. They will run a little bit of this clock. Towson facing some pressure right away, and again, the Texas A&M defensive front is able to get home and get pressure. Dakota Towson, true freshman, trying his best to navigate the pocket. It's going to be a learning experience for him, but that being said, 2 minutes left in the first half. Wofford has a chance to actually put points up on the scoreboard. Why? Because they actually forced a turnover, just trying to throw out to the flat, even though there was clearly a double team there. And that's going to mean that, Wofford, they are not going to at least be shut out. At least they can say that they scored against an SEC team. At least they got that going. But now Texas A&M has the football once again. Just seconds left here in the first half as they get to the line of scrimmage quickly. Going to try to run it upfield. He's got some blocks down the sideline. Gets inside the 5-yard line. He's going to be dropped at the 1-yard line. And Texas A&M, they will tack on yet another field goal. Very surprised that they did not run that into a touchdown. I thought they had a little bit wider of an angle, he was going to be gone. So still a 2-possession game. So Wofford, they're not completely out of this game, at least not yet. But man, we're going to have to fight for it, and they're going to fight for it big time. 4th and 6 from the 28-yard line as this kicker goes ahead and gets ready to punt this football away. Midway through the third quarter as well, that kick is away. And this could be danger zone time. They're kicking a little bit towards the corner. As now, this receiver, he's got a lot of speed. And he's using that SEC speed to get down the sideline. And is going to score again. Touchdown, Texas A&M. And that's going to be a 20-point lead for the Aggies. Bigger lead for this SEC school as they go into the final quarter of action. I'm sure Texas A&M, they want to come out here and put up a message that they are not the Texas A&M team that's sorely disappointed in real life. Not even making it to a bowl game. Imagine that. As we'll see another touchdown pass that puts the Texas A&M Aggies up 30-3. That is your score as Dakota Towson again just trying to make something happen. Anything to happen. And it's just not going their way right now. That is the 6th time that he has been sacked. This offensive line is clearly overmatched, but Dakota Townsend is not really helping at the moment. You gotta, if you know that you're going up a much superior defensive line, you gotta get rid of that football quickly. That's just how it's gotta go. And gonna be a long year for Wofford. It could be a very long season. Granted, Texas A&M got a bunch of actual 4 stars, bunch of actual 5 stars. This is a very loaded program. So the fact that Wofford even score is a minor miracle, but Wofford, they got a lot of growing to do. They're gonna have to really continue to recruit. They found Dakota Townsend, who could have a very good future at the quarterback position, but he's not someone that could do it all by himself. He's gonna need some help from his coaching staff in the future. But the final game that we got planned here for this episode, we actually do have 2 FCS teams now meeting up. We got Montana State. They will be going on the road and taking on the Rams of Rhode Island. So should be a pretty exciting game. Montana State led by their senior quarterback Maurice Billings, who he's had some moments in this series that makes it seem like he's got NFL aspirations. We'll see what happens though, because that being said, not very many FCS players do end up making it to the NFL. But someone to watch out for though is Kev Stamper. He's gonna stomp it out on the Rhode Island special teams unit, and that's how Montana State will get their first points of the season, a 7-0 lead. But this Rhode Island team, they are certainly a very resilient unit. They're not going to give up very easily, but they also have some deal with some very good linebackers that they brought in. PJ McNeil is one of them. You saw his stats flash up on screen. He's already got 5 tackles in this game. That is insane. And Rhode Island, they do also get a safety. That is something that did also happen as well. So a 7-2 lead for the Montana State Bobcats as Maurice Billings just drops that right into the bucket. I mean, we got to talk about this throw right here. This was a beautiful throw. And now red zone opportunity as Billings will fake the handoff, trying to set up the play action, but that defensive lineman beat that left tackle, and Montana State will have to settle for yet another field goal. So 10-2 is your current score. So Rhode Island, if they can find a way to score a touchdown here and go for the 2-point conversion, they can still tie this game. It's a very competitive, and it is a very defensive-minded game. If you love defense, this is definitely the game for you, right? This is what you are looking for. But Montana State is trying to turn off some of those defensive lovers here in the second half. Get a nice throw over the right-hand side. And Maurice Billings is feeling himself here. Another red zone chance as Billings looks over to the right-hand side. Tries to throw it up for Kev Stamper. But there it is. Patrick Nelson able to get the interception. And because it was deflected up in the air, that's what we see most of the time when we see those deflections. And if it's caught by another person, it usually ends in the hands of a defensive player. That's what we typically see. And Rhode Island, we'll see if they can take advantage of that. They're going to get all the way to midfield here. That's a huge play. And now Rhode Island is outgaining Montana State. The special teams has really been the only difference so far. That's what we have seen thus far in this game. But we'll see if Rhode Island can actually finish their drive, though, as we'll try to see if this quarterback can scramble out. But looks like he runs into a stone wall as Montana State gets the drive, and Rhode Island is going to have to settle for another field goal. So a borderline baseball score that we're seeing right now, 10-5, with about a quarter left to play as well. As now we're trying to see him hand it off to his tailback, and tailback gets absolutely ran over. Absolutely insane. And now 3rd and 7, looking over the right hand side. Billings firing downfield, and it's caught. Kev Stamper with a huge reception. And how about this kid right here? Kev Stamper has been playing extraordinarily well. He's looking to take the next step for his football team. coming into his junior year as well. But that being said, Maurice Billings is going to throw yet another interception and a chance to make to the 2-score game, and just could not make it happen. But Rhode Island, they were out there chilling at the 1-yard line. They did not count that as a touchback. And of course, what ended up happening as well is that Rhode Island did not get a single first down. So they're going to be playing this out of their own end zone. And Kev Stamper, he doesn't have much field to work with, doesn't need it either. And Kev Stamper finds the end zone again. Touchdown, Montana State. And now your score sitting at 17-5, 1:11 left to play, though. It's still not completely over, but the Rams need a miracle. Throwing over the middle of the field, finds a receiver. And it's a first down for the Rams, who have had more first downs than the Montana State Bobcats. That's something that we did end up noticing. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Dropping back. It's going to be a play action. Looks left-hand side, and it's going to be fumbled on the ground. And Montana State is going to recover. Huge recovery there. And that is PJ McNeil making his collegiate debut, by the way. He's the one that gets the fumble recovery. And listen, it wasn't a pretty game whatsoever, but sometimes being pretty is not as good as being a winner, and that's what we saw there. Montana State does win this game. They will need more offensive output in the future because, listen, you're not going to win a lot of football games if you only put up 17 points on the board. It just does not work like that. And now Montana State, they're going to start the season 1-0, and they are going to win this game by a final score of 17-5. So we've seen all of the gaming action here in week number 1, and we got the players of the week here for both the offensive and defensive sides of the football. They're going to both come out of that game of the week between Eastern Kentucky and SMU, and it starts on the offensive side of football. Louis Rose, who is a Heisman candidate here in the early going of the season. He had a great game to start out the year. He had 28 carries for 160 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground as well. So definitely living up to those Heisman expectations. But also keep an eye out for the junior middle linebacker for the Eastern Kentucky Colonels as well, Raymond Spencer. Raymond Spencer also had a really good game for the Colonels in their debut of year number 5. And they end up with 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 sacks, and multiple forced fumbles as well. It was a very good performance for Eastern Kentucky. So now we are officially have kicked off year number 5, and we got more action coming in the next episode, as for the first time in year number 5, we will have a full slate of FCS games, and I hope you guys are really excited for it. And if you are, make sure you go ahead and smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you do happen to be brand new to the channel, this is John Shade Gaming on the mic signing off. But I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.